Should the Denver Broncos go after disgruntled 49ers receiver Brandon AIYUK? I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm kind of glad I waited to make this video until later in the day because the news about Quinn Minor's extension just came out, and I think that does have at least some ramifications about the Denver Broncos possibly going after Brandon AIYUK. So, if you guys missed the news earlier today, 49ers star wide receiver Brandon AIYUK has formally requested a trade after contract negotiations between his camp and the team have basically gone nowhere. AIYUK is no doubt looking for a big payday. He's looking to be in the top 10 of highest paid receivers in the NFL. Currently, that ranges from Justin Jefferson's $35 million a year, which AIYUK just isn't getting that much, to DK Metcalf's $24 million a year. I think that AIYUK realistically could end up in that sweet spot in the middle, maybe $27, $28 million average annual value. Thus far, the 49ers have no indications that they want to pay that. They've already got a lot of players that are in the top of highest paid players at their respective position. Deebo Samuel, one of the top paid receivers in the game. Christian McCaffrey, one of the highest paid running backs in the game. George Kittle, top paid tight end. Fred Warner, top paid linebacker, I should say. Nick Bosa, top paid edge rusher. I really feel like the 49ers have exhausted a lot of... Trent Williams, top paid left tackle. I really feel like the 49ers have exhausted a lot of these resources into giving their offensive and defensive core the bag, that it may be hard for them to pay Brandon AIYUK, who could very easily be a number one wide receiver on any other team, but right now he's kind of pigeonholed into being almost a fourth option in San Francisco. Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, they're both basically interchangeable players. They can both be split out wide at receiver. They can both play running back. They can both play in the slot. So literally, Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey are like one and another. They're almost the exact same player. You've got George Kittle there, who's a big part of that offense. And then, obviously, you've got Brandon AIYUK there, who's really, again, more that fourth option. But in any offense, aside from San Francisco's, basically, Brandon AIYUK could be a number one receiver. And he was the number one true wide receiver there in San Francisco because, again, Deebo Samuel was that gadget player that they would move all over the place and utilize at multiple different positions. He wasn't their true number one alpha or number one receiver just in terms of the alignment. He was their alpha receiver, certainly, but not in terms of the alignment. Brandon AIYUK could be a top target both in terms of the alignment as well as just being that dog, because he is a dog. He's got that dog mentality to his game. He runs routes with absolute aggressiveness. The question is, where does this all pivot back to the Denver Broncos? Where I think the Brandon AIYUK to Denver rumors really started to gain steam was a post on Twitter from the 33rd team. I believe it was Artie Mirov who posted it, saying that the Denver Broncos could be a team in interest of Brandon AIYUK's services. I personally think that the Denver Broncos would be a little bit stretched, to say the least, if they were to go after Brandon AIYUK, because they don't have the cap space this year to extend him. They just don't. And the main reason why AIYUK wants out of San Francisco to begin with is because of money. So the extension just wouldn't be able to happen this year unless they kicked a bunch of money into future years. But even then, they wouldn't have enough to fulfill the needs for 2024. So that, I feel like, alone rules out Brandon AIYUK coming to the Denver Broncos. Additionally, as my chair goes down, that's going to stay in the video too. Additionally, the 49ers are easily, if they were to trade him, would be looking for a first-round pick. The Broncos, I don't know about you, but I don't think the Broncos are in business of trading away 3 out of 4 first-round picks for players. I mean, obviously, the last two... And obviously, they traded again another one for Sean Payton, too. So the Broncos have traded away so many first-round picks that it just doesn't feel right to trade away another one for Brandon AIYUK and then have to extend him on top of that, which is going to be hard for the Denver Broncos to pull off. I would much rather invest resources in the draft in the wide receiver position and get a younger player who could develop and grow with Bo Nix, and then utilize that money to maybe extend Garrett Bowles or sign a left tackle in free agency, or, you know, maybe beef up the defensive line even more, add an edge rusher, maybe add a number 2 corner alongside Pat Surtain if it's necessary, if maybe Chris Abrams-Drain or Riley Moss or maybe even Jaquan McMillan, hint, hint about Jaquan McMillan playing outside, if those guys don't fill into that role. So I think that the Denver Broncos may want to go in that direction as opposed to having to give up premium draft capital for Brandon Ayuk and then extend him on top of that. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I've seen those rumors swirling around on Twitter about the Broncos bringing in Brandon Ayuk, but I don't know, man. When you couple all those reasons with the fact that the Broncos have a lot of young, intriguing options in that wide receiver room, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick on the veteran end of things, and then you've got some of the lower-end roster players like Little Jordan Humphrey, Brandon Johnson, Jalen Virgil, and all of those guys. You know, this wide receiver room has a lot of potential. They just need somebody to emerge as that true number one guy. And Brandon Ayuk is a number one guy. I just don't think that the Denver Broncos would be smart investing all of those resources into getting him here to Denver. So that's just my opinion on things. I don't think that Brandon Ayuk makes a whole lot of sense to Denver. I know that some fans have entertained that possibility already, but I just don't think that it makes a whole lot of sense. All right, Broncos country, let me know in the comment section below. Do you feel like bringing Brandon Ayuk to the Mile High City would make a lot of sense? Do you feel like he'd be a good fit in this Sean Payton offense? Do you feel like he would make sense as a number one target for Bo Nix? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the bell. And before we dip out of here, guys, today's video is sponsored by Whitebeard Signworks. Use code BS15 to save $15 off your first purchase of NFL logo LED signs just like this one. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.